Check out this property I purchased in 2020 for $165,000. It's a Brisbane townhouse, half an hour south of Brisbane, 45 minutes north of the Gold Coast, in a blue-collar working class area that is gentrifying. It's currently valued at up to $467,000. So it's had extraordinary growth, over 180% capital growth in 4 years or so. So our key fundamental, or one of our key fundamentals when buying property, is we buy property based off the 18-year land cycle framework and 20 years of sales history. If you look here, in 2003, this property was sold for $71,000, and then in 2007 it was sold for $146,900, more than doubled. This period of time between 2003 to 2007 was the land boom segment of the 18-year land cycle. The exact same period of time we are in currently now. We're in the same period in, say, 2005, a couple of years before the GFC. And as you can see, this property doubled in value prior to the GFC in the land boom in the second half of the cycle. We then went through the GFC in 2008. It then pretty much flatlined in the first half of the current cycle between 2007 and 2020, which is when I purchased it in 2020 for $165,000. So we only buy in markets after they've gone through a protracted period of time of stagnant growth, like what happened in 2007 all the way to 2020. 13 years, this property pretty much flatlined, and now it's worth up to $467,000. Right? So it's more than doubled, 180% growth in 4 years or so. And we are no longer buying in Brisbane because Brisbane is hitting its limits. Most people are getting sucked into the herd buying these properties still for over $400,000. I wouldn't pay over $400,000, $450,000 for this now, because it's going to flatline just like what happened in history. Properties don't just continue to go up 200, 300, 400%. Look what happened between 2003 and 2007. It had good growth, it reached its limits, and then flatlined for 13 years before it then hooked into its next growth cycle. So this is why we use the 18-year land cycle and historical sales data to pinpoint when markets are stagnant and when they are due for their next growth cycle, to get immediate growth within a 5-year period so you can leverage it out and go again. Most people are ploughing into Brisbane thinking it's a good market to continue to buy at this price point, but it's not. Markets do not keep going up, even if there's, Olympic Games and all that sort of stuff. The people that are pushing to keep buying in Brisbane, buyers agents, firstly, don't know what they're talking about, and secondly, are only feathering their own nest because they're not looking outside their backyard. They probably have vested interest in those markets because they live in those markets and they can't be bothered to look in different markets. So buyers beware. Now is not the right time to be buying in Brisbane. We are no longer buying in Brisbane. Even though I've bought multiple properties in Brisbane and Queensland, we are no longer buying there. Sure, you'll get another 20 or 30% growth, but it's reaching its limits, and you can't compare it to markets like Sydney. I hear it time and again. Brisbane's so cheap and affordable compared to Sydney. It is not Sydney. Sydney is a global city. Every market has to be looked at on its own merits. Markets do not just keep going on 200, 300, 400% capital growth. They go through periods of booms and stagnation.